We've been traveling for a while. You sure Gruff's around here somewhere, Lyris? Declaration. My analytical systems have a 99.9 repeating percent accuracy rate. So what I'm hearing is that there's a chance that you might be wrong. Lifeform detected approximately 5 feet away.
Humdy humdy hum.
Gruff, there you are.
Oh, hi Lucy. It's been a while, huh?
Oh, it has. I'm just so glad you're okay.
Okay. I've just been on vacation, Luce.
Oh, I guess that makes sense. Wait, weren't you all fluffy and animally?
I, already am? That's kind of my whole thing, you know?
Oh, duh. So, do you know why the circus is trashed?
The circus is trashed?
You didn't know.
No, I just heard about Bloomburrow and figured it sounded nice. I actually went on a huge adventure and befriended a bunch of those Calamity Beast guys. They're not so bad once you get to know them.
Really? That sounds awesome. You'll need to tell me all about. New lifeform detected. Life force signature Veronica von Vladimir, located along the Omen path to the plane of Duskmorn. Already? But we just got here.
Geez, if only we had a little bit more time to spend on this nice plane before we had to go somewhere else.
Yeah, I was just getting used to Bloomburrow. But we're on to the next thing, I guess. Awaiting input. Query. Shall I begin making the preparations for travel? Yes, please. Anyway, while we're here, want to talk about all those cool Calamity Beasts, Gruff?
Sure thing. Want to stick to the legendary ones for Commander?
Why not? Virus works quick. Without further ado, let's start the show. First off, we have Beza the Bounding Spring. They're 2 and 2 white for a 4/5 legendary elemental elk with 1 long ability, so let me shorten it for you. Basically, you get a thing if an opponent has more of a thing than you do. For example, if someone has more lands, you get a treasure token. If someone has more life, you get 4 life. If someone has more creatures, you get a couple of 1/1 fishies. And if someone has more cards than you get to draw 1. More often than not, you'll have at least one of these being able to be triggered, but it's an entering effect, so we need to find ways to get Beza off and on the battlefield over and over again. Luckily, White has some of the best ways that we can do that. Cards like Ephemerate and Restoration Angel are both excellent ways to do this, but those are one-off effects. What if we have more ways to do so and in a bit more of a permanent state? Luckily, there are cards that can do exactly that. Conjurer's Closet and Teleportation Circle are both cards that let us, during the end step, exile a creature and then bring it back immediately. More ways to trigger Beza or any other cool white creature you have in your deck with it at the helm. But just getting one trigger is boring and dumb, so let's get some more. Panharmonicon and Panharmomicon, Elish Norn, Mother of Machines, are 2 effects that let us double up on our entering effects, while Elish Norn shuts off the ones from our opponents. Politic, you can get out of it, you'll be fine. Spring will be in full bloom if you let Beza into your command zone.
Next up is Eluge, the Shoreless Sea. For 1 generic mana and 3 blue, you get a legendary elemental fish who's a star. So pretty. It's a star. Its power and toughness are equal to the number of islands you control, which is gonna be a lot, since if this is your commander, the only basics you can run are islands or wastes, and I think wastes would be a waste, you know? Plus, if one of your lands isn't an island, you can put a flood counter on it whenever Eluge enters or attacks, making it an island plus whatever else it was. Not only does this make Eluge bigger, but it makes the first instant or sorcery spell you cast cheaper. Either buy blue mana or generic mana for each land you've got with a flood counter. There's not that many more ways to get flood counters, but there's actually 2 cards that do it, which is more than I expected really. But there's a teeny tiny difference between the 2. The Flood of Mars and Quicksilver Fountain both put flood counters on lands and creatures, but the Flood of Mars, and Eluge too, makes them islands in addition to the other types, and the Fountain just makes them islands. Just islands, you know? Means you can't tap them for other mana or activate abilities. It's just islands. Good thing it's just 1 artifact though. It could be a problem if this deck could get it all the time, right?
Yes. tragic. Maha, its Feathers Knight is truly a powerhouse despite looking pretty simple on the surface. For 3 and 2 black, you get a 6/5 elemental bird with flying, trample, and a ward ability that says you have to discard a card to even target it. But that's not even the most evil part of it all. Maha also says creatures your opponents control have base toughness 1. For 1, it's not symmetrical, so that means all of your opponent's creatures are going to be small and easy to remove. Luckily, black doesn't have any ways of giving a bunch of creatures -1/-1 at the same time, right? Oh. Well, at least they don't have a bunch of ways to give all creatures -1/-1 permanently, right? Oh. Oh, this is going to be miserable, huh? Well, at least there isn't a way to get a bunch of card advantage or win the game from something like this, huh? Oh, it's Massacre Girl. I know her. Let's see. 4 mana, Menace, Wither, everything gets Wither whenever a... Draw a card. Oh dear. Yeah, this one might be a problem.
So, okay, this one isn't exactly a Calamity Beast. Dragonhawk is actually a dragon from Tarkir who didn't exactly become super cuddly and adorable and instead got a bunch of feathers. But I mean, it's close enough. Dragonhawk, Fate's Tempest, is 3 and 2 red for a 5/5 flying bird dragon that, whenever it enters or attacks, you exile the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of creatures you control with power 4 or greater, and you can play those cards until your next instep, which will be the next instep no matter what, unless you like cast it during your instep. I guess you could do it there. And then it deals 2 damage to each opponent for each one you didn't play. There's the obvious thing you could do, which is just play a bunch of dragons. They tend to be pretty beefy. But there's also plenty of goofy 4-power creatures, and red does tons of little weird cloning things, if only for a little bit. So there's plenty of different things you could do with Dragonhawk. If you want to ruffle some feathers at your table, Ock and Wall of Torches both have 4 power, and they're just funny things to see cast. But they're also pretty cheap, so if you can play them first before you play Dragonhawk, you'll get some big value.
Finally, we have Lumbra, and honestly, I wish I had more nice things to say about this card. It was one of the first ones we saw in Bloomburrow, and it's relatively uninteresting. For 4 and 2 green, you get a legendary elemental bear with vigilance and reach, whose power and toughness are equal to the lands you control in green, and like, that's just every green effect ever. Lumbra being able to bring back all of your lands from the graveyard upon entering is neat and all, and can be quite powerful, but there's not that many interesting ways to build around it here. Play big green cards, play stuff like Scapeshift for extra value. Sorry to end off on such a dud there, but the others were just infinitely more interesting in my opinion.
So, what'd you think of my new friends, Luce?
They're really cool and interesting from a lore perspective, but honestly, with the exception of Eluge and maybe Maha, I think they're better off with the 99. You want to have access to more colors to get their max benefit, and I think they're best as part of a wider engine.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Also, hold on. New friends? Aren't they supposed to be like the embodiments of the primal forces in Bloomburrow?
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. They all love ear scritches, especially Lumra.
Huh. Well, you learn something new every day. Calculations complete. Statement. Omen path opening momentarily. Oh, good. Maybe Veronica knows something about what happened. When's it opening up, Lyris? Projections indicate Omen path opening in a
Ah!
Welp, looks like we're going to fall into Duskmourn with style. In the meantime, have you built any decks with a Calamity Beasts in them? Or maybe a deck with one at the helm? Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, thank you all so very much for watching, and until next time, au revoir!